Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next lesson in the upper intermediate course. And we're going to talk about some important grammar issues that aren't often discussed: the future perfect and the future continuous. And I'll talk to you about when we need to use those. We're going to have a lot on vocabulary dealing with the environment, which is why we have the title of this chapter, Stormy Weather. Do you like stormy weather? You know, in my experience, most people don't, but a few love it. So we'll find out what your preferences are for weather. Some people love the rain, some people love sunshine, some people love snow, other people like sunbeds on a beach. So we're going to find out. And then finally, pronunciation of vowel sounds. Now, if you're looking, just to give you an understanding, in general, English is most difficult to pronounce with vowels. That's where the most difficult part comes in. And silent letters, vowels and silent letters. Vowels tend to affect how we pronounce things, and it's very highly volatile. It's not very consistent. So you can see an A or an E or an I, and they can have many different pronunciations depending on what's before and what's after it. So let's get started. The first section is speaking, so you're going to do that either with me on your own or with a speaking partner. But it's really very interesting to take a look at because we have, we can think in our own lives how the environment has come closer to us, affects us on a daily existence. So for example, when I was growing up, we just threw everything in the same bin. Now, bin is British. Let's go ahead and write that down. Bin is British. And we would say in America, the trash can or the garbage. So we threw everything in the garbage. Now let me go ahead and put that down here so you can see it. We threw everything in the garbage. That's US. So, but now we sort, is a nice word here, we begin to sort the garbage, sort the trash into different, depending on what it's made of. So plastics, paper, perishables, this is nice. Perishables are food items. Food perishes, sort of molds and changes its constitution very quickly compared to plastics and paper. So we call these perishables. If you perish, if a person perishes, they pass away, they die. He perished during the war. So, but perishables are those things that die really quickly, and mainly we refer to those as food items. So you throw those. You can also say those are not recyclable, but there are other words for these, but perishables are one such word for food. All right, so you can go ahead and answer some of those questions. And I think it's really interesting. We might do that. We might do that during the live. Let me go ahead and get rid of those. All right, now what we're going to do is move back to the beginning because somehow we have gotten off path here. All right, so we're going to look at the grammar. Now, the grammar is really interesting. Future perfect and future continuous. I'm going to show you where they are right now. So if we look here, I'm going to bring my highlighter. We've got one already here, will have installed, and will be recycling. These are the two verb forms that we're going to talk about in today's lesson. The future perfect tense is the present perfect, so have installed, plus the future will. So that's how you can remember it. Present perfect, so will, which is the future, plus present perfect. Have been, for example. Now, when do we use these? We're going to talk about it in just a second, but just for the construction part, the future perfect continuous. Is that how we call this? I think we do. I'm sorry, just the future continuous, not the future perfect. We use the word be, will be. That's the key. Will be with an ing. Running, cycling, working is a very common use of the future continuous. Sorry, I can't meet tomorrow. I will be working at that time. We're going to talk about that. But that is a very common use of that. All right. Now we have here a few different things I'll draw your attention to. Blocks of flats. I think many of you know that flats in Britain are apartments in the United States. So blocks of flats is something you hear in Britain. You never hear that in America. You hear apartment complexes. Apartment complexes, just so you know the difference. So if you would say, I'm looking to rent in a block of flats, and if you go to the US and say that, you'll probably get a very blank look. A blank look means a confused look. Blank means they don't know how to react. So this is, I'd like to rent an apartment in one of those apartment complexes or apartment buildings across the street. Now, takeaway, we know I'll have it to go, take away, or carry out, or to go. 3 ways to say those. There are others, perhaps. Will have invested. Now, I want to draw your attention not just to the grammar, but this is also actually quite interesting, the topics. It's about the future. And energy and environment, obviously very important. Food, water, weather, very important for us. Low-lying beaches. You might not know what low-lying beaches are. Those are beaches that are low compared to the average sort of height of the water across the world. So low-lying areas are those that are most likely to flood. If the land is above elevation, so it's above sea level, this is how we do this. So if the land is at sea level, it has a normal elevation or altitude elevation. But if it's above sea level, obviously it depends where, but you have a better chance of not getting flooded. No floods. No floods. But if you're below sea level, or low-lying beaches generally are, then they are candidates for flooding. So you got to be careful. The Maldives, for example, is very popular with wealthy people. The Maldives, these islands are very low-lying beaches in general, and they're gradually disappearing. And so whether they'll be here in 100 years or not, we don't know. But there's a chance they won't. They are eroding and disappearing each decade. We have here desalination. Salination, sal is salt, so you take out the salt, generally from oceans or seas. All right. Excuse me. I think that's it. Let's go to the grammar. You're going to have this as homework, but I want to talk just for a minute about this. Now, will have stopped. There are 2 prepositions that we normally use or associate with future perfect. In and by. By especially. So if you're talking about finishing something at a certain time in the future and you want to tell someone about it, I will have finished my book by the end of the year. So what you've done is you've predicted an outcome, a finish. I will have finished. I have finished is present, near the past, dealing with the present. And I will have finished is the future. So you're looking at by the end of the year. So by December 31st, 2024, I will have finished. You can also say, I will have finished in in 3 months. Yeah, in is not as common. I would use by most of the time. I almost always use by. So here's how to ask questions. Here's how to answer that. Ask yourself a deadline or a goal that you have this year. At your job, you might have a project. So that's due, let's say your project, your team project is due at the end of March. So you can say that we will have finished the project by the end of March. And sometimes we add this at the beginning, all going well, meaning if there's nothing out of the ordinary that happens, you know, illness, cancellation of the contract, crazy weather, a tsunami, all going well, anyway, all going according to plan, then we will have finished the project by the end of March. All right, now, in terms of future continuous, here's what you ask. Here's how you can practice this one. Ask yourself, your partner, somebody, what will or what are, so you can say, what are you doing tomorrow at 12:30? Or what will you be doing tomorrow at 12:30? Now, if they say, will you be doing, this is easier to answer the future continuous. So if it's the second one, you can say, I will be working at that time. Even if you ask the first one, what are you doing tomorrow at 12:30? You can also say, I will be working at that time. But you might easily, just as easily, use the form that they asked you in, I am working at that time. All right. So you can ask yourself, what will I be doing next time this week? At this time next week. I think we all like to do that. Wow. We do it certainly in the past when we've just come back from a very interesting holiday or business event or something that really excited us. So I think a lot of us think, wow, a week ago, right now, a week ago, I was in the Maldives, or I was at this business convention, or whatever. So you think about it in the past, you can also think about it in the future. Next week at this time, this is a nice phrase, next week at this time, I will be in the Maldives. I've never been to the Maldives, by the way. I just happened to have a conversation about it recently. I will, next week at this time, of course, we need a capital N. Next week at this time, I will be in the Maldives. I will be, sorry, we need it again. I will be holidaying. I will be flying. There's the continuous. We need the action verb, sorry. I will be flying to the Maldives. Very exciting. All right, so ask yourself those questions in order to practice, or partner, or I'll do it during the line. All right, you've got some homework related to that right here. Now, vocabulary is very rich. 156, we've got these degrees of cold and hot and rain and wind. So obviously cold and hot and rain are three of the most common things because people live in areas where it's cold, hot, and rainy. We need rain to survive as people. So it's hard to live for humans in the desert. So that's why we congregate. This is a very nice word. We tend to congregate. Congregate means gather around rivers where we can have harvest. And we know that harvest time, you know, if we have a good harvest, it's only because we had sufficient sun and sufficient rain. If it gets too cold, it can kill our crops. If it's too cold, we call this an early freeze. If there's an early freeze, it can kill the crops because they weren't expecting that, you know, this rhythmic cycle that the farmers rely on sometimes is interrupted by an early winter or a late winter. And that can cause problems with the harvest. Problems with the harvest. If you can have a bad harvest If there's disease or inclement weather, nice word, inclement weather. All right. Some of you will remember no inclement weather. All right, now I'll let you do these on your own because I think they're very interesting and fun to do. Then we have fog and smog and mist and all of this. And extreme weather. Now, extreme weather is interesting because we have to use different sorts of adjectives or adverbs before these nouns. So heat wave, these are all interesting. Monsoon, these are things that, you know, global weather reports all talk about. So you want to know what these are. And of course, we have synonyms for some of these, especially for the cyclone and tornado we talked about. They're all slightly different if you're a meteorologist, but for the average person, we use them interchangeably. This is a nice expression. For the average person, we use them interchangeably. I think that's how we spell that. All right. Now, what I want to do is go down very quickly here. Let's erase this. And we're going to go down to the modifiers with adjectives. I'm going to bring this down a bit so you can see it on the screen. All right, so if you look here, modifiers with strong adjectives, normal adjectives with a modifier. So really, very, extremely, incredibly, unbelievably. These are things I think we're all used to using. It was incredibly cold. It was very cold. It was extremely hot. It was very hot. It was very windy, unbelievably windy. But when we have a strong adjective, like freezing, boiling, suddenly we have to change the modifiers of those adjectives, these adverbs. And I'm gonna show you in a list here. So this can be a little bit confusing for some of you, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to use very. So what I said is with normal adjectives, we can use very, really, etc. But really cold, very cold, unbelievably cold. But when we start to look at strong adjectives are already extreme. Colossal means very big. You can't say very colossal because colossal means very big. So then if you want to add something to colossal, you have to use something different. So what I've done is I have gathered the most common collocations, that is to say adverb, adjective, for these strong adverbs. I'm sorry, strong adjectives. So here you can see here, astonishing, breathtaking, colossal. I'll go through a few of these together. So the second word is that strong adjective. The first one is what you can modify those with. Again, we can't use very, and we can't use really. At least we shouldn't. So here we go. Astonishing is very surprising. So you can't say very astonishing, but you can say absolutely astonishing. And absolutely goes well with a lot of these strong adjectives. You can see here, absolutely monumental, absolutely glorious. Absolute. So absolutely is one of the more common. Stupendous, like amazing, great, that's stupendous. So we have there, absolutely, very common. Breathtaking. So if something is cool, you could say that's very cool. If it's breathtaking, it's like, and if you want to add to it, you can say it was truly breathtaking. I remember getting in a hot air balloon over Cappadocia, and you can say the views were truly breathtaking views. Now, I'm not speaking of me, I'm just giving you an example of friends who have gone there, and that's how they describe it. Utterly colossal, probably we don't need it. Colossal means very big. And if you want to say it's very, very big, you can say it's utterly colossal. Although honestly, I don't know if I like that one as much. But colossal says it all. It's just humongous. It's huge. Huge is like humongous. Quite daunting. We normally talk about the daunting tasks. So if a task is daunting, it's demands a lot, and quite daunting is, sort of embellishing that a bit, underscoring how difficult it is, or daring. Deeply exhilarating. So if you take a ride, maybe a bungee jump or something like an extreme event, extreme sport or something, it can be exhilarating. And then if you want to add to it, it's deeply exhilarating, incredibly formidable. Oftentimes your opponent in a boxing match is any type of sport, you have a formidable opponent. They're going to give you a really tough fight, a sporting fight. But you can say incredibly formidable. And we can go on. Nefarious is dangerous, deeply nefarious, dark, dangerous, omnipotent, all-powerful, seemingly. Now that doesn't make it stronger, it's just, but this is an adverb, an adverb you can use. Utterly means completely, utterly phenomenal. You might not have used utterly before, so you can. It's utterly phenomenal. It's completely phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal's enough, to be honest. But if you want to add to it, so all of these strong adjectives, you probably don't need to add to it because it's already strong. It's already stronger than normal. But if you want to underscore that feeling, you can do it. Ravishing, I think that is related to wealth. Truly ravishing, wondrous, xenophobic. If you're xenophobic, you have a strong dislike for foreigners. And if you want to underscore that sorry, I said xenophobic, and this is xenogenic, but xenophobic is a fear of foreigners. And if it's strikingly xenophobic, which is the example I've given, then it means you were shocked at how much they didn't like foreigners. Strikingly xenophobic. Shockingly, actually here would be shockingly. Shockingly xenophobic. Deeply yearning, fiercely zealous. Zealous has a lot of energy for a cause. You feel very strongly about something, and if you're fiercely jealous, it's even more so. So you learn some of these, a lot of these words are new, I suspect. And so you can go ahead and take a look at those. All right. We've got some listening here, and 4 different people. And the meteorologist, I have to say the meteorologist is really interesting. Now we're cutting down on some of the audio files because it's just a lot of homework and I don't want people to get behind. So we're not going to give you all of these, it's just a lot. But the listening here is quite interesting. All right, you've got a lot to do. And then of course you've got the answers here below. So I wish you well, happy studying, and speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.